seen the work the bracelets are subscribed.
Yep, we can go. All good.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the council meeting of February the 7th, 2024. Notice the absence. Item 2, a moment of reflection and respect. Sadly, I would like to mention the murder of local resident Tanya Weeb that I'll be thinking about. Thank you. Next item is the confirmation of the agenda. We have a few additions.
Yep.
If you will, Owen.
That council adopts the agenda for the meeting of February 7th, 2024, with the additions of the following items. Item 14.3, Chief Administrative Officer Report 10-24, Potential Land Sale, Ames Park, with subsequent items renumbered accordingly. And that consideration of this item be closed to the public pursuant to Section 239(2)(c) as the subject matter relates to a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, and that council add the discussion point of the Earth Board special meeting attendance as item 8.1.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, I'm sorry, you need a mover and a seconder first, don't we? Moved by Councillor Van Raes and seconded by Councillor Chapman. All those in favor? It's carried, thank you. Remind people of declarations of pecuniary interest. 5, delegations and public meetings. 5.1, delegation from the YWCA St. Thomas Elgin. Kelly Colho, I believe, the manager of Health and Wellness, is approaching the podium. Welcome.
Good evening. On behalf of the YWCA St. Thomas Elgin, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council, for the opportunity to share more about recreational swimming, water safety education, and life-saving leadership opportunities for children, families, and individuals in our communities. My name is Kelly Coelho, and I'm the manager of Health and Wellness with the YWCA. And I'm here tonight with my colleague and local resident, Melissa McDowell, YWCA Aquatics Coordinator. I'm just going to move to the next slide if I can. The YWCA has provided aquatic programming in the Aylmer area for over 25 years. We are grateful for our ongoing partnership with the town of Aylmer to provide seasonal aquatic programs at the outdoor pool. In addition to aquatic programming during the summer, the YWCA also offers aquatic programming throughout the school year at the Ontario Police College's indoor pool and prior to COVID at Terrace Lodge. Through these programs each year leading up to the pandemic, upwards of 1,000 participants joined in opportunities to be active, gain skills, and connect with their community. Currently, over 200 children, youth, and adults are participating in an 8-week winter session of swimming at the indoor pool of the Ontario Police College up until March break. Registration for a spring session of local programs will begin later this month for another session over April and May, leading into June. Aquatic programs offered by the YWCA St. Thomas Elgin have evolved over time and have included swimming lessons, life-saving leadership programs on the pathway to become a lifeguard, aqua fitness, fitness swimmer, and during the summer months, supervised recreational swimming. Excuse me while I adjust to that. This past summer, with our additional funding support through the Ontario Trillium Foundation, Resilient Communities Fund, we expanded our aquatic service delivery model to introduce the Life-Saving Swim Instructor course, an aquatic leadership certification required for instructors to teach swimming lessons. Last month, in January of 2024, we launched a Life-Saving National Lifeguard course at the Ontario Police College. National Lifeguard certification is the legal certification required to lifeguard. If you can swim 400 meters in 10 minutes or less, are looking to gain life-saving skills and make a difference in your community, maybe lifeguarding is for you. Having local availability of these leadership courses is crucial in rebuilding capacity in terms of qualifying instructors and lifeguards that can then provide water safety education in the form of swimming lessons and a safe, supervised swimming opportunities. The pathway to become a lifeguard and swim instructor requires several steps and a significant commitment of time and money. This is typically upwards of 100 hours for training over the course of up to 4 years, in addition to training costs upwards of $1,000. Renewal requirements also exist every 2 years to recertify and to maintain qualifications. With the heavy commitment required, shortages of qualified lifeguards and aquatic staff were being experienced in the sector prior to the pandemic and were exacerbated with it. Mandated facility closures meant a halt to swimming programs, including volunteer and employment opportunities for local youth and life-saving leadership training courses that qualify instructors and lifeguards. As time passed, many aquatic professionals moved on from precarious employment roles. Certifications lapsed and training opportunities to certify or recertify were not available during facility closures. When services were able to resume, there were international shortages of qualified instructors and lifeguards, catching up from a gap in a lengthy certification process, in addition to the usual staff turnover when young aquatic professionals move from high school and college education into other careers meant in many ways rebuilding human resources for program delivery from scratch. Most pools made difficult decisions around locations that could operate and programs that could be provided within legislative safety and supervision standards and significant human resource constraints. Over the past few years, we have been proactive in working to overcome challenges faced by the aquatics and recreation sector and to rebuild aquatic program delivery to pre-pandemic levels of service. Summer aquatic programming was not offered at the outdoor pool in Elmer in 2020. While outdoor programs resumed locally during the summer of 2021, it was not until this past spring of 2023, a gap of 3 years, that indoor aquatic programming was able to resume at the Ontario Police College throughout the school year. Although staff shortages continued to impact aquatic services this past summer, the provincially legislated change to the minimum required age of lifeguards from 16 years to 15 years in early June of 2023, and proactive planning and recruitment strategies enhanced our staff resources of qualified lifeguards and swim instructors. With increases in qualified staff, program delivery capacity also increased. So thank you, aquatic staff, for making this possible. You probably see some familiar faces there. Water safety education and opportunities were enhanced in 2023. New programs were introduced, as mentioned, and recreational public swimming was expanded to again include evening and weekend hours, with pool closure on Sundays. Some highlights around programs and participation this past summer are shown on the slide. Thanks to generous community sponsors, free swimming opportunities were available for the community each week on Fridays throughout the summer, with a bonus Saturday free swim. Through sponsorships, attendance at free recreational swims rivaled total participation for all other recreational swimming throughout the summer. In fact, 49% of recreational swimming attendance over the summer occurred over 9 free swim dates. This demonstrates the impact of affordability on community participation and engagement and the important contributions that community that local businesses make. Thank you again, free swim sponsors. We hope you'll consider supporting these opportunities again. With year-round pool facility access, program and service adaptations, enhanced recruitment and retention strategies, including local leadership pathways, legislative changes, and year-round employment, along with funding support and community partnerships, we are on the path to restoring services in our communities to former levels. There are many pieces involved, and we have a way yet to go. As mentioned, we are grateful for the partnership and financial support from the town of Elmer in offering aquatic programs each summer season in our community. Funding resources have been and continue to be critical to maintaining viability to deliver aquatic programs. Costs to program delivery are increasing, including those related to recruiting, training, and retaining staff. Revenue from program fees is steadily increasing since a service gap in 2020, but will take time to rebuild to former levels. Program fee revenue supports program delivery costs, but is not nearly sufficient alone. For community members to engage and participate, program fees must remain affordable and comparable with other local jurisdictions. To help offset aquatic program delivery costs and maintain affordability, we seek out additional financial resources throughout the year on an ongoing basis. Over the years, in addition to support from the town of Elmer, this has included seeking out and securing funds through government grants, foundations, local businesses, and private donors. These additional sources of funding are required to offset program delivery costs, but are not stable or consistently available resources. They are often time or project limited, they change year to year, require lengthy application processes, and have eligibility criteria. We work ongoing to source and secure these financial supports to provide this community service. As mentioned, reliable sources of funding are critical to local aquatic program viability and sustainability. As communities rally for a return to aquatics and recreation, so too have efforts towards water safety and drowning prevention. In a significant milestone in 2021, the first United Nations resolution on drowning prevention was approved by the General Assembly, with Canada being one of the member states that co-sponsored the resolution. This resolution focuses attention and action on this highly preventable public health challenge and increases international awareness and action to reduce drowning. According to the Canadian Drowning Prevention Coalition, in that same year of 2021, and unfortunately, the Elgin Middlesex London region saw a record number of drownings. With Elgin County home to 100+ kilometers of Lake Erie shorelines, ponds, rivers, marshes, backyard pools, and agricultural water stores, the value of water safety education, swimming lessons, and supervised swimming opportunities cannot be understated. They play a key role in drowning prevention, health promotion, and community vitality. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council, for joining us and the Elgin County Drowning Prevention Coalition this past summer during National Drowning Prevention Week at the outdoor pool to further our efforts to promote water safety and to contribute to community initiatives and activities that aim to raise awareness and prevent fatal and non-fatal drownings. The outdoor pool is the largest outdoor pool in Elgin County. It too has evolved over the years with a new bathhouse built in 2011. There is a need to ensure the outdoor pool meets established aquatic and other safety standards, and that community facilities are able to be responsive to the community's changing needs and demographics to provide a safe, enjoyable community amenity. Aquatic programs bring together local young people in volunteer roles, their first employment experiences, and in building skills and saving for their future career goals. It brings together caregivers and their children, families and individuals as they learn to swim, build fitness, maintain their overall health and well-being through physical activity and play, meet up with friends, make new ones, or cool off on a warm summer day. Sustainable aquatic facilities and year-round aquatic program delivery are critical in providing well-loved community assets and in ensuring that there are programs and services, people and community to bring it to life and to save lives. The YWCA St. Thomas Elgin maintains our commitment to water safety education and recreational swimming opportunities and looks forward to continuing to work collaboratively with the town of Elmer to support the contributions these programs make to our local economy, individual quality of life, and community health and well-being. Thank you both, Mr. Mayor and members of council, for the opportunity to share more about local aquatic programs. Thank you.
Excuse me. Thank you very much for that report, Kelly. Council, any questions, comments? Councillor Chapman.
For you, your mayor. I just want to say I totally agree that water safety, it should be a mandatory skill, especially where we live. Water safety is so paramount that we lose far too many, not only children, but adults who are unaware of the safety that is required to do around water. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. Anyone else? Do we have a resolution?
Yes, that the presentation from the YWCA St. Thomas Elgin respecting YWCA aquatic programming be received for information.
Mover and a seconder. Councillor Desrosiers, Councillor Roselach. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much, Kelly, for that report.
Thank you.
5.2, related action item, Director of Operations. We have a resolution.
That report Operations 07-24 entitled Elmer Pool Condition Assessment be received for information, and that council direct staff to proceed with the maintenance improvements for 2024 as identified by the consultant in the condition assessment and follow the implementation strategy as discussed in the staff report.
Mover and a seconder. Councillor Chapman and Councillor Van Raes. Rob, I think you're going to introduce a new member today. I'll leave that up to you for the introduction. Okay.
Thank you, Worship, for those that have not yet met Susie. Susie is the new manager of Parks and Recreation.
Susie, you're going to do this report?
We'll probably do it together.
Together, okay,
Won't put
great.
Susie on the hot spot quite yet.
Hey, thanks.
As council will recall, we secured a consultant to do a review of our pool facility prior to the end of the fall last year to try and expedite the sort of a review of that facility. The purpose of the report tonight is to kind of go through those options with council now that the consultant has had a chance to review the report. And sort of just briefly, he's given council three options. Option one is kind of to address all of the outstanding safety concerns without the need for major renovations at the pool. Option two is all of option one, plus the installation of a PVC liner in the lap pool. And option three is basically the complete retrofit of the existing pool. So staff would agree with option one, and in fact, we think we can fit a majority of the work in option one in the existing budget. There are a few items in there that we'd like to sit down with the YWCA and go through the report. This is the first time they've had to see it. There are a couple of improvements there that I would like to see potentially maybe if we could delay until even possibly next year to allow for some better procurement. And perhaps the Y would work with us. There might be an opportunity for an SOP or a standard operating procedure that would give us some time. There are a few more of the expensive ones, the guard chairs, for example. If that is not in fact the case after we meet with the Y, we would then bring back a further report to council with any budgetary amendment. But I think for the most part, we can address the majority of the option one issues in 2024. Staff are really also in agreement with option two. We feel that the rehabilitation of that main lap pool with a PVC liner represents good value for the town. I understand there's a lot of talk about a new pool or an indoor pool, and the council would like to have that discussion. We feel that probably including the PVC liner in the 2025 budget for discussion would be a good chance to review that. The other thing is a PVC liner and those repair. A liner goes about 7 to 10 years. Even if it was the council's future decision to build a new facility, those things take time to get off the ground, do the public consultation. So we think a liner, discussing that at next year's budget is probably a good idea. So you'll probably see that come forward in next year's budget. But the one thing that the consultant did show us that a patch and paint, as we've been doing, because that pool is structurally sound, is an acceptable option. So we're recommending patch and paint for 2024. We'll show a PVC liner in 2025. And as far as option three, I would just refer the council to the consultant's report that while this option would be the most expensive option, it would, make probably the most economical sense to build a new facility. Really, it's structurally sound the way it is, but to try and retrofit that to get everything we want out of it really I don't think that would be a good exercise. So he does sort of state that in the report. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. We didn't feel the need to have the consultant here. The report is fairly straightforward. But if I need a question I can't answer, I'd have to seek some guidance from the consultant.
Okay, thank you. Council, questions? Councilor Rosie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, two questions for staff, if I may. One, the overall cost for the option one it looks like the pool drains. Just the pool drains alone for the lap pool and the baby pool total $45,000. Is the majority of that cost like the labor and the install, or is that is a lot of that cost for the actual mechanism itself? So that was question number one. And question number two is, if the infrastructure of this pool is good, the structure, is it possible to redevelop the facility into a year-round indoor facility? Like, would that ever be an option to amalgamate the two ideas together and build a structure over this pool to make it year-round? Like, is that a possibility, or?
Go ahead, Rob.
Through your worship, I can answer the first question. Those drain repairs, there's a couple of ways you can do that. The more extensive one would be the $45,000 option. The option that we'd be looking at in 2024 would be suction-proof grates. So
Okay.
not the major repair. We'd be looking at immediately making them safe for swimmers. The option to retrofit those would be a major retrofit. So not the $45,000. We don't have that in our budget to do that. So those are grates. I'm led to believe from conversations with the consultant that there are grates out there that we can retrofit to satisfy the legislation. That's what we would do in 2024. We did ask about how far could we take to retrofit and improve this pool. I was led to believe that probably not a really viable option. But that would be something that council would have to investigate for themselves, really, when you figure out what the main plan is for that, for the pool.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. We have a motion on the floor then. We'll call the question in terms of option. I guess you're recommending option one in this particular resolution. Councillor Chapman?
Is it option one or is it option two? Option two is the combination of,
For this year, your worship, we're going to do as much of option one as we can within our existing budget. I didn't want to surprise the YMCA. We're scheduled to meet with them next. I didn't want to share the report until I've shared it with council. So I'd like also an opportunity to sit down with the YWCA to review this with them. If there are things in option one that we immediately need to tackle that are outside of the budget, I'll be back with another report. And option two will be, you'll see a PVC liner in the draft budget discussions next year.
Okay, any other questions? Very well then, I will call the question. All those in favor of the resolution? That is carried. Thank you. Five point three, I have another delegation of Larry Jeffrey and Ron Sawyer on behalf of Elmer and Malahide Museum and Archives. So, gentlemen, approach the podium. Ron Sawyer is going to speak. Hello, Ron.
Good evening, Mayor Cookett, Deputy Mayor Barber, and esteemed councillors. I'm Ron Sawyer, Chair of the Board of Directors of the Aylmer Malahide Museum and Archives. We call it AMMA. I'm here today to ask for your consideration on the matter of the property taxes on both 14 East Street and 75 Talbot Street East in Aylmer. As you are aware, the Aylmer Malahide Museum and Archives owns both buildings, and this year we have been assessed by MPAC as being required to pay those taxes, which we anticipate being about $6,000 to $8,000 annually. Our funding from the town of Aylmer has been reduced by $1,500 this year to $18,500. But of course, our operating expenses have been increasing steadily over the years. This has put a strain on our already tight budget. We're always looking for ways to increase funding and revenue, and as you're all aware, this isn't easy. This puts our viability as an Aylmer institution in question. We have previously submitted a letter to council asking for a waiver of the property taxes or a special grant to cover the full amount of those taxes. The museum has always been tax exempt since its inception in 1977. When in 1999 the museum split from being a function of the town to a volunteer-run entity, this continued. It was a part of the arrangement with the volunteer board of directors to take over management of the museum's business. If the museum were still being run by the town, your financial commitment would be to cover wages for 1 part-time and 2 full-time staff members, benefits, oh boy, utilities and general expenses, which we estimate to be currently a minimum of $200,000 annually. So consider the savings the town has already realized for the past 25 years, while the museum has maintained and enhanced the collection, a collection which remains the property of the town of Malahide and all of their citizens. There is a precedent for the idea of waiving property taxes. In 2018, the province of Ontario passed legislation that the Royal Canadian Legion would no longer be required to pay property taxes, a laudable acknowledgement of the esteem we place on our veterans. Prior to that, Aylmer Council, to their credit, had seen fit to waive those taxes over many years. Interestingly, perhaps in a sense of community responsibility, most Ontario museums do not currently pay property taxes. All municipalities struggle with the balance of the greatest good for the greatest number, and so often we have seen so-called soft services sacrificed for the benefit of fiscal responsibility. But cultural spaces are not wasted spaces. To illustrate this, I will introduce a personal note. The last time I was a delegation to this council was in 1977. I had been given a tour of the old Aylmer Opera House and felt that there was some potential there. I was 22 and a theater student at Western at the time. We made our case to council for retaining the old town hall and refurbishing it, and instead of demolishing it and converting it to 8 parking spaces, apparently a great need at the time, we made that case, and my dad, Jack Sawyer, who was on council at the time, was much bemused by our ideas. Nevertheless, we got the usual "thank you for your presentation and we will take it into consideration" response. A referendum was called for the voters of Aylmer, and the result was a democratically significant "we want parking spaces." Council, in its wisdom, decided that, despite popular opinion, they would keep the old town hall and revive it. Though, to this day, I'm not sure how my father voted. I like to think he was on my side. The old town hall became the small but lovely Aylmer Library and one of the finest municipal theaters in the province, as we have been assured by so many visiting entertainment groups over the years. The point is, cultural spaces are not wasted spaces, or even parking spaces. A museum like AMMA is a valuable asset. It tells us who we were, and therefore, who we are. Without that resource, just who do we think we are? Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Sawyer. Your thespian talents are evident. Does council have any questions of Ron? Councillor Van Raes.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. It's more just a comment, if you may.
Sure.
If I may. Thank you for coming to speak with us. I want to just comment that I think the museum has a significant benefit to the community because it's our history. And we're also a small community that has a museum. What small community can say that? They have a museum like ours that's here. And I know there's there's an additional burden of carrying the two properties, which is hard when you're fundraising. So if there's any support that can be offered, I would support that, but I just wanted to thank you very much because I do see a benefit to what you do, and
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Roselach.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion, Your Worship, to forgive the property taxes for the museum for the year 2024.
Sorry, would you read that again?
I would like to, have a motion to forgive the property taxes for the museum for the year 2024.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Van Raes. All right. So we have a motion on the floor.
To 6,500.
So I'm hearing that the preference from staff would be that it would be a grant. You can change the motion to include the word grant, right? Is that okay with the seconder? Right. Okay. Any discussion from council? Okay, so what would the motion read, actually? And I'll read again.
Yep, so, and we'll also just do the receipt for information, that the presentation from Ron Sawyer of the Elmer and Malahide Museum and Archives regarding property tax assessment be received for information, and that the town of Elmer offer a grant up to the amount of $6,500 from the council initiative reserve to the Elmer and Malahide Museum and Archives.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? No. Thank you very much, Mr. Sawyer.
Thank you so much.
Consent agenda 6.1, Director of Financial Services. There's a number of consent agendas. We have a resolution.
The resolution is that the February 7th, 2024 consent agenda be received for information, and that the included recommendations within the staff reports be adopted, and that council approves the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on January 24th, 2024.
Okay, so the resolution is covering which numbers again, Owen? It's covering all of 6?
Yes, it covers 6.1 to 6.43.
So everyone is, okay, so the resolution covers those. Mover and seconder? Councillor Chapman is a mover. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Van Raes. Right. Council, questions? Councillor Van Raes.
If I may, I'd like to pull 6.1.3 and speak to that.
You'd like to pull it separately? Is that what you're saying?
I'd like to speak to it
certainly.
if I may. So thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. This letter that I sent to council is in regards to Project Lifesaver. If you haven't heard of it, Project Lifesaver is an international project that's run by a nonprofit that provides additional support and assistance to vulnerable people who are at risk of wandering and becoming lost. So what this does is it gives first responders a tool for anybody that signs up to this program, the opportunity to, or families families who sign up for this program can have wearable trackable devices for vulnerable loved ones, whether it's someone with Alzheimer's or dementia, or even someone with autism, youth with autism that could benefit from this, where if they become lost, first responders can use this to track them. And what this does is significantly reduce the search time for people from days, weeks, months, which turns into recovery, to you could do a search within 20 minutes if you know the radius of where that person became lost. So this helps with search and rescue, and helps with resources, because you're reducing the number of resources that are needed for search and rescue, and potentially saving lives. there are many examples of when this has been used, and people have been found within the first 20, 30 minutes. And again, it's saving lives. We do currently have this in Ontario, but we don't have it within Elgin County. So Norfolk, I believe, has this, Guelph has this, but we don't have this in Elgin, and this is something that we're looking at bringing to Elgin County for our vulnerable people who are at risk. There's obviously a startup cost with this, and it is a partnership with Inclusive Communities. So I was approached as a business owner, not as a counselor, and Victim Services are also in talks of getting this going. And it's supported by St. Thomas Police, Elmer Police, and OPP, who are going to help with the use of the equipment, but it's something that's going to be spread all throughout Elgin County. I think that it's a benefit because, one, again, we're significantly reducing the resources that could be used in a search and rescue. We're saving lives and providing peace of mind for vulnerable people and their families. So what we're trying to do is raise the funds for the initial cost of the equipment. A lot of the training's already being done through Elmer Police, St. Thomas Police, and OPP, but because this is a project that, like, police are supportive of it, but this is a project that the two agencies are starting up, we need to purchase the initial equipment. The equipment, a lot of people ask, is this GPS? A lot of families might be a little hesitant to sign up because they don't want to be tracked. It's not GPS. So basically what it is it's a transmitter. So if someone is lost, then you contact first responders, call 911. If they're signed up to the program, they have a signal that they track, and they go to the area that the person has been lost, and you can use this to track that person. And if you see it's like a radio antenna, and you're picking up the signal, and it dings more the closer you get to the person. So it's not a GPS, it is a transmitter, but knowing where the person was last seen, first responders can go to that area and track that person a lot quicker. So we're looking to purchase units there will be one here in Elmer, and then there'll be one in Elgin, one in St. Thomas as well. So our first responders will have access to that within our area, but it will be able to cover all of Elgin County. Trying to cover all the information. I think I got it all out. There's a lot more in there, but I'll open it up to any questions. And what I'm asking is, if anyone would like to make a motion to support this, I think, again, this is something that would be very beneficial to Elgin and Elmer. It's not something that I benefit from personally. I think I benefit the same way all of us will benefit, that it's peace of mind for our families. It's just something that I've been involved with, and I've been volunteering my time to help get it up and running. So with that,
All right, thank you very much. Sounds absolutely amazing and necessary. I believe the resolution includes a recommendation to support this, right? Any other comments or questions, Councillor Oslash?
Yes, I'd like to provide a motion to fund a project, Lifesaver, for $6,000.
Okay, that's not part of the original recommendation, I don't think, is it?
So we would deal with the second item after. So we'll pass the majority of the consent agenda, and then
Okay, so the majority of the items, we'll pass the resolution separately, 6.13, and so, items are raised in 6.5. So we'll have a vote on the other items, and then we'll come back to your resolution, okay? Right, so the resolution that's moved and seconded is for all of the items except 6.1.3. So you understand what you're voting on, okay? So all those in favor? It's carried. So now we'll go back to the resolution by Councillor Oslash. And your resolution again, sir? Councillor?
I provide a motion to fund the project Lifesaver for $6,000.
Do you have a seconder? Councillor Van Raes. All right. Discussion by council. Councillor Desrosiers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I have a couple questions regarding the program. Before supporting it, I would want more information and data regarding this. Firstly, what is the data surrounding the current call volume for related incidences? Do we have that? Secondly, in your correspondence, you mentioned that this is applicable to all of Elgin County. So my question is, there's 7 municipalities in all of Elgin County. Why is Elmer footing the bill for a third of the cost versus 1/7? And the last question I have is, we've come quite a ways in terms of technology. We have access to Apple AirTags, for example, which retail for $35. How is this different from AirTags? Like, are we not able to utilize the current technology that's readily available and economical? So those are my 3 questions, if you can answer them.
Yep. So through you,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Mayor. First question, can you remind me your first question again?
The data, sorry.
Data, sorry,
surrounding-
data. I don't have the data in front of me, but there is data that'll show, that I can get data to show calls. I can ask for, I can look to see if there's data throughout Elgin, all of Elgin County, so I can reach out and find out about that. I know personally from the work that I do, because obviously outside of this, my main career is supporting adults and youth with intellectual disabilities. So speaking with families, I know that there are many times that people go missing, and police might not be involved right away because of, we know go-to spots where they are. Just 2 weeks ago, I was out searching for a youth that had wandered away from home, and we did call police at that time, but I know previous times, the family's been hesitant to call police because they're panicking. And my direction is always call the police first. So I can look at getting data. I don't know how accurate all of that data will be, but I can definitely see what we have. The second question regarding funding. So when I looked at putting this out, I looked at where the devices are going to be located. So one of them is going to be located here in Elmer. So that's why I had looked at splitting into 3 to look at the areas that it's going to be to go and approach them, about a third of the funding. Now, if we were unsuccessful, like if we voted today and it wasn't a full 6,000, or it wasn't, say we voted on supporting 2,000 of it, then I'm looking at reaching out to local businesses that I know are interested in getting involved in supporting this. I just thought reaching out to council first, because it is something that is going to benefit the entire community, especially having one here and having all of our police trained with it. I think it's something that's really going to benefit everybody that's within Elmer and help beyond that in Elgin County. And then, sorry, your third question again?
Comparable to AirTags.
So from my understanding, and I'm not an expert in all this, I'm getting information and been doing my research. So when you get AirTags or any other type of device that is like a GPS location, then GPS, depending on where you are, can fail, as well as batteries can fail. This is, it's a much more reliable system when it comes to tracking. That's why we're looking at bringing this in, because it is used throughout the states. It's used in other communities in Norfolk, and there have been success stories on where people have been located, where I've heard stories with GPS that, again, it's not always as reliable as this system. So that's why we're looking at using this tracking system. And it's only ever turned on if someone is missing. So it's not like a device where you turn on and you can look at a screen and say this person's here. So it doesn't track you that way. So privacy as well. It's only if the person's missing, you dial into that frequency of that device that they're wearing, going to the area where they were last seen, and then you're searching for them that way. I hope that answers your questions.
Okay. Anyone else? Councillor Chapman.
Your Mayor. I like the idea of the program. My concern is the same as Catherine, $6,000 to Elmer when it covers the county. I'd like to see more revenue from other municipalities and, or from businesses. I just think that it's a lot of money for, there is no value on someone's life. However, it's a lot of money for the few people that it applies to. So when it comes to delegating the taxpayers' money, it's a large chunk, and I would like to see other municipalities contribute to it, or as you had said, other businesses. So do I support the program? Yes. Do I support the 6,000? No.
Councillor DeSosier.
Thank you. Just a follow-up from those comments as well. Personally, I agree with Councillor Chapman. Do I support the idea? Yes. Do I support the request? No. I would personally like to see more data surrounding the request. I would also like to see more municipalities on board. And I also have a hard time justifying it when we just, like a couple months ago, decreased our community grants for our community programs, and now we're going to give $6,000 to this after we just decreased grant funding. So it just doesn't sit right with me, and I'm nervous it won't sit well with the community as well, even though it is, like I said, a good program, and I get where your heart is coming from. But again, like Councillor Chapman mentioned, it's when it comes to tax-paying dollars, you have to really think about the whole picture and not just a select few.
Excuse me, what's the timeline on the need for this money, Councillor Van Raes?
We were hoping to get it up and running by the spring,
Okay, so
March, April, at the latest, the sooner the better for it.
Councillor Chapman?
For you, Your Worship, that was my question as well. Why March? Like, is it just because of the safety of the individuals that will be affected, or is there another reason for the March deadline?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Well, whenever we're working on a project, we always put a timeline on it. We always have a goal as to when you'd like to have it up and running. Originally, we wanted it up and running in January, but there's always things to work through, so we weren't able to meet that timeline, so we put another goal, like the sooner the better, because again, as you mentioned, you can't put a dollar amount on saving lives, and the number of people that can benefit from this in Elgin County, when you work in the field, you know how many vulnerable people there are out there, how many families there are out there that, and I've spoken to families about this project, and they're waiting for it to be up and running because their family member, their son or daughter, or whoever, grandma or grandpa, like mom or dad, whoever it is that they're supporting, are at risk. So this would give them peace of mind, so that's why the sooner we can get it up and running, we give them that little peace of mind of, if something happens, this is a tool that we can use to try to eliminate the worst case scenario. So that's why March.
Would this be an annual request?
No, this is a one-time startup cost. Sustainability of the program is through families purchasing the devices, and there's a yearly subscription. I don't have the number in front of me. I think it's something around, I don't even want to say a number because I don't want to be quoted on a number, but it's a minimal cost, a minimal subscription for the service. This is just the initial startup cost to purchase the equipment, transmitters, and everything that would be need for tracking.
So I'm going to ask the Director of Finance, any issues with the budget for that amount?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would suggest that if council was looking at funding this, that they would consider the council initiatives reserve, because that's what that fund is reserved for.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Chapman?
Through you, Your Worship. So my question is, if we just spoke of the museum, and that was to come from the initiative reserve, is that correct?
I would
That is
imagine
correct.
so, yes.
So how much money do we have in the initiative reserve?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, currently, with the last number that I had as of today, 250,000 is in that reserve approximately.
Any other questions? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to provide $6,000 for this project. How would the motion read?
The motion would read that Elmer offer a grant in the amount of $6,000 from the council initiative reserve to Project Lifesaver Elgin.
Okay. Seeing no other questions, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Can we have a recorded vote?
I'm sorry?
Can we have a recorded vote?
Certainly. Did you have a question before the vote?
Actually, it's just a comment. It's not about the value of the system. It's about the value of life. I can just say that in 2019, if this was in place, it would have made my life much simpler when my dad would leave the home at 3 o'clock in the morning and we didn't know where he was. So that's just a comment.
Councillor Van Raes,
Calling the vote, go ahead.
Yes.
Councillor Chapman,
Yes.
Councillor DeRosier,
No.
Councillor Oslich, Mayor Cookett.
Yes,
The motion is carried.
thank you. Moving on to 7.1, Manager of Planning and Development. Report on the Sifton Properties Limited request for extensions of the draft plan approval. We have a resolution.
That report plan 04-24 Sifton's Properties Limited request for extension of draft plan approval, Cottonwood subdivision file number 34T 98001 be received, and that the council of the town of Elmer recommends approval to the county approval authority for extension of the draft plan approval, Cottonwood subdivision file number 34T 98001 for a period of 3 years.
Mover and a seconder, Councillor Chapman and Councillor Desrosiers. Heather.
Thank you, Your Worship. The current draft plan extension for this subdivision will lapse on May 15th, 2024. It's important to note that an extension was given to this draft plan approval in 2020 and in 2021. So it has received a couple of extensions. Mostly that's due to some changes in the subdivision layout. The extension is being requested to permit additional time to fulfill draft plan approval conditions related to Phase 3 and to also proceed with the future development phases, which would be Phase 4, through a new draft plan of subdivision application. Because a portion of the Phase 4 lands is subject to the existing draft plan approval. Just to remind you that the red line revision to Phase 3 for the draft plan of subdivision was recommended approval by this council on November 15th, 2023, and shortly approved thereafter by the County of Elgin. The extension of draft plan approval for a period of 3 years will provide the necessary time needed to finalize all conditions. It's important to note that Section 5133 of the Planning Act grants an approval authority the ability to extend a draft plan approval for a specified period of time, provided that that draft plan approval has not lapsed. I have no further comments. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them. Thank you.
Council? No questions? Okay. Then we have a resolution on the floor. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. 7.2, Manager of Planning and Development, request for lifting the 0.3 meter reserve. Resolution.
That report plan 05-24 regarding requests for lifting 0.3 meters end of Willow Drive be received, and that council approved lifting of the 0.3 meter reserve on the western end of Willow Drive in accordance with bylaw number 13-24.
Mover and seconder. Councillor Oislash, Councillor Desrosiers. Heather.
Okay. Thank you again, Your Worship. This request is to incorporate the 0.3 meter reserve that is located at the western end of the Willow Drive, and this is to facilitate the extension for the Willow 1 draft plan of subdivision. The owner has been working diligently in fulfilling conditions for final approval of the subdivision, and this is just one of the many conditions that they're seeking to fulfill. It's important to note that the lifting of the reserve is appropriate at this time, as the town is nearly ready to enter into the subdivision agreement with the owner, and the owner will be registering the subdivision plan in the very foreseeable future. So I have no further comments. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them at this time.
Council? Seeing no questions, all those in favor? Is carried. Thank you. 7.3, Director of Operations, Parks Maintenance Program, Resolution.
That report operations 09-24 entitled 2024 Parks Maintenance Program be received for information, and that council accept the 2024 Parks Maintenance Program as presented.
Mover and seconder, Councillor Chapman and Councillor Van Raes. Rob.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm very pleased to present the 2024 Parks Maintenance Plan to Council. This represents a lot of work by our Parks and Beautification Committee. We've been working really hard, efficiently to present this to Council in a timely manner. Once accepted by Council, this will represent our standards and our program for 2024. As you recall, that committee was struck to try and develop some permanent standards for our park system. That's a rather hefty undertaking, if you will, and the committee feels that probably it's maybe to have annual standards brought before council might be the way to go while we implement some of these new initiatives along the way, until such time as we have, you know, some room to evaluate them and recommend them sort of for a permanent adoption into our park service levels. So the program continues to build on some of the work that was done in 2023, and to also implement some of the recommendations for maintenance under our Parks and Rec Master Plan. As council will recall, council allocated additional funds for our park system. We prioritized that in our budget, and we feel that this plan sort of maximizes that allocation for council. So I won't go through it in detail, but I'd just like to do a couple of the highlights, if you will, and introduce some new service levels. The turf maintenance, we're again going to use a private contractor to efficiently manage our turf maintenance obligations throughout the town. Trail maintenance, I think this council has heard a number of times that they'd like to see the hard surface trails better maintained. So we're recommending for 2024 a monthly sweeping program. Again, it's a trial. We can evaluate it to see how it works, how much of a cost it is for the town, and to see how effective it is. It won't be done on a specific day and time. As it says, it's generally once a month, and it's when machine and manpower become available. So it could be, 30 days, 28 days. We're going to try and fit it into our existing operations. And that also goes with our other hard surfaces, so our tennis courts, our skate parks, those are all going to receive that same level of maintenance in our system. One good news on the hanging baskets, we were able to work with the BIA to reduce the number of hanging baskets in the town. We cut them in half. As the council is aware, the hanging baskets represent a fairly significant commitment by the town on the maintenance and purchase of those. So they're going to cut the hanging baskets down by half. And in place of the baskets, the BIA has offered to implement their summer hanging basket program. So one will complement the other, and we don't feel there will be a significant change that would be seen by the average person downtown. So we're pleased to sort of recommend that initiative as well. The flower beds and planters, we're going to build out in our areas more sustainable, natural flower plantings in all of the areas where we can. Sort of a lesser reliance on those annual plants that are sort of expensive and difficult to maintain. They take a lot of water and a lot of time and effort. There are some exceptions, though. Our downtown area still requires that pop of color, if you will. So Old Town Hall, the Cenotaph, Palmer Park, you're still going to see the annuals in that sort of key locations. But out and about, you're going to see more sustainable, natural echinacea-type flowers out in there, building on some of that work that was done last year. We are seeing some interest in our Adopt a Park program that council endorsed. In fact, we've had sort of one pre-consultation session, I would say, at the committee level. The Elmer Minor Ball came and just to sort of run their ideas by us for the Adopt a Park. I would say it was well received, and I would anticipate that the committee would likely see an Adopt a Park application from Elmer Minor Ball probably in the next near future. They've got some robust ideas, and we're hoping we can endorse those and recommend them to council, so that's sort of forthcoming. One of the other initiatives that we're recommending is sort of a hard surface beautification project. If you've been down through the park system, you know that there are some ugly hard surface type structures. You probably see the manholes that stick well up in the air. There has been some interest and some investigation about even some students, I believe, from the high school to maybe look at beautification there, lessening the impact of those, and we probably will see something if that's something that council's interested in doing, that we would pursue that a little further with those artists. I would probably defer to other members on the committee who are maybe more versed in that one than I am. And again, we've tried to fit everything into the current budget. We do recognize that council upped the budget. We're pleased to see that commitment to the town's park system. And with that, myself or maybe any of the other committee members would be available to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for that, and thank you to the members of the committee. Sounds like a lot of long and hard work. I think the members of the committee, hope I'm right, Councillor Oslash, Councillor Desrosiers, and Councillor Chapman are members of that committee, correct? Very good. Questions, comments on the report? Councillor Desrosiers.
Just a comment. I just wanted to thank staff and the committee as a whole for all of our hard work and taking all of our visions and implementing them into one masterpiece. I'm really happy to see that we're going to be doing some trail drainage updates, the reoccurring maintenance, as well as an incorporation of more perennials just for longevity and less maintenance. So I think it's overall it's a very successful project that we have done as a committee. I'm sorry to toot our own horn, but I'm very happy, and thank you to staff for helping us implement the vision.
Very good. Anyone else? Councillor Van Raes.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. It's hard to pick one thing to speak on because there's a lot of great ideas in this. So thank you for presenting, Rob, and thank you for everyone that's done the hard work. But I just wanted to comment that I love the idea of hard surface beautification and murals. I think that'll be really cool to see in town if we're able to implement that.
Okay, good. All those in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. Item 7.4, excuse me, Manager of Parks and Recreation, the tender award for hanging baskets. We have a resolution.
That report, Operations 08-24, entitled Tender Award 2024 Supply and Delivery of Floral Hanging Baskets, be received for information, and that council accept the tender submitted by Family Flowers in the amount of $2,080, excluding HST, for the supply and delivery of the floral hanging baskets.
Mover and seconder, Councillor Desrosiers, Councillor Oslash. Rob, or Susie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, I'm pleased to present my first report to council tonight, and thank you for that segue, Director Johnson. That was much appreciated. I've come in mid-swing. The tender was already issued upon my arrival, so I'm coming in mid-project. But I'm happy to provide an update to the supply and delivery of floral hanging baskets for the 2024 season to be displayed in the downtown core. It's important to note that the purchase of these baskets is included in the 2024 operational budget, and the price submitted is within the projected amount. The annual hanging basket program this year will include supply and delivery of 32 floral hanging baskets suitable to be placed on brackets located on decorative light standards in the downtown area in 2024. And as Director Johnson has mentioned, the installation of banners through the BIA will offset the locations that were previously occupied by hanging baskets in the past. It's wonderful to note that the Parks and Beautification Advisory Committee consulted with the BIA on the basket composition, so I'm pleased to announce that green potato vine, bubblegum petunias, and bacopa will be adorning the hanging baskets and beautify the downtown core this year. A request for tender was posted on the town's electronic bid portal, and staff as well emailed local vendors directly in advance to advise them of the bidding opportunity. I'm pleased to report that a list of local vendors was also provided by the BIA to reach out directly to. The tender closed, and we're pleased that we did receive modest interest yet competitive pricing. And as a result, we are recommending that Family Flowers be accepted as the lowest bid for this project, and excited that the delivery of the baskets should be expected during the week of May 15th, rather. Thank you.
Thank you. Council? Councillor Chapman?
Yes, through your worship. I just have one question. Delivery on May 15th. Are we at risk of frost still then?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. There is a caveat in here that if there is risk of frost, that timeline can be shifted. The supplier is to reach out within 2 business days to arrange appropriate timelines, so we can protect our investment and, and make sure the plants are safe. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Okay. 7.5, Director of Financial Services Interim Tax Bylaw Resolution.
That report, Finance 02-24, entitled Interim Tax Bylaw 2024, be received for information, and that council direct staff to prepare a bylaw establishing the interim tax rates for the first 2 2024 installment dates.
Mover and seconder, Councillor Chapman, Councillor Van Raes. Heather.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So every year, council sees this report during this time. There's a need for this interim bylaw currently because we have, the county has not struck their tax rates yet. So we do the interim bylaw to allow for us to do the March and June billings so that we're not rushing through adjusting tax rates. At the end of, or at the beginning of August, we'll true up the tax rates, and then the new bills will come out with the final billing amounts. So that's the reason for this bylaw. I just wanted to explain to this council the process.
Thank you. Questions? See none, all those in favor? Carried. 7.6, CAO Indemnification Bylaw Resolution.
That report, CAO 08-24, respecting the indemnification bylaw update, be received for information, and that council direct staff to present the indemnification bylaw update on a future agenda for adoption.
Mover and seconder, Councillor Chapman, Councillor Roselach. Andy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an updated indemnification bylaw. These policies are very common in municipalities. The update proposed to provide a lot more clarification and detail upon how indemnification will occur. This is to ensure that there isn't any misunderstanding or misinterpretation on how the town indemnifies, more than actually to alter any of our pre-existing processes from the bylaw. It's just more of how it actually would be implemented. Like many policies, we borrow heavily from other municipalities to keep our cost and staff time low and increase our productivity. So this policy is very close to one adopted by Elgin County at the end of 2023 and was previously was developed by their solicitor, who I thanked on behalf of the town. And with that, I'll try to answer any questions council might have.
Council. Seeing none, all those in favor? Is carried. New business, we do have one item under 8. Do we have a resolution ready for that?
Yeah, I can introduce a resolution. So that whereas the mayor is unable to attend the Earth Board special meeting on February 15th, 2024, that council appoint or nominate blank to attend.
Councillor Chapman?
Yes, and if that council appoint Councillor Chapman to attend.
Okay. Basically, I guess I can move her in a seconder first before I have Councillor Van Raes, Councillor Oislach. I think the resolution says that basically a little while ago I was named to be the person, the voting delegate for Earth, and I can't make it, so I would certainly recommend Councillor Chapman to take my place there. Any comments or questions? Councillor Desrosiers.
Not that I'm opposed to Councillor Chapman, because I would love her to be there, but I am going to be there as well, too. So just in case, if she was being pulled specifically for it, I was already going to be at the meeting as well. But if she's going to go, that's great. We can go together.
Well, I thank you for that, certainly. I believe our rules say that council has to appoint a voting delegate, so it has to be an official council kind of thing. So we have Councillor Chapman on the motion. Any other questions? Comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? As carried, thank you. Reading of bylaws and proceedings thereon. Resolutions?
That council gives 3 readings to and approves bylaw 13-24, being a bylaw to dedicate certain lands as part of the highway, being the removal of the 0.3 meter reserve. Bylaw 14-24, interim tax rates, and bylaw 15-24, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at the regular council meeting held on January 24th, 2024.
Okay, mover and seconder. Councillor Chapman, Councillor Van Raes, any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried, thank you. Inquiries by members, are there any? Statements and committee reports? Seeing none. I do not have a report. Sorry, I'm sorry, sorry, Councillor Chapman, I guess I'm moving too fast, but right.
I would, through you, Your Honor, just one more time for all who are listening, our gala for the Terrace Lounge Comforts and Home campaign is next Saturday, February 17th. We do still have a few tickets left. If you're interested, you can pick them up at First Impressions, Campbell's 2, or you can find yourself a Kinsman member. We hope to see as many people there as possible. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Anyone else? So I don't have a report. Is there a notice of motion? No. And so we move on to a meeting closed to the public.
Yep. That council moves into a meeting closed to the public at 8:13 p.m. to discuss the following matters. Manager of Planning and Development Report, Plan 06-24, update on Ontario Land Tribunal Appeal ZBA 05-22, Director of Infrastructure Report, Operations 07-24, Willow Run Multi-Use Path, Chief Administrative Officer Report, CAO 10-24, Potential Land Sale, Ames Park, Chief Administrative Officer Report, CAO 09-24, Employee-Related Matter, Recruitment of the Deputy Clerk, and other related positions, and that considerations of these items is closed to the public pursuant to Section 239(2)B, C, D, E, and K of the Municipal Act 2001 as the subject matters pertain to personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, labor relations or employee negotiations, E, litigation or potential litigation involving matters before an administrative tribunal affecting the municipality or local board, and K, a plan, a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board.
Mover and seconder, Councillor Chapman, Councillor Van Rays. Any questions on those or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Is carried. Thank you. Move. Open session, we have a resolution. Owen?
Yes, the resolution will read that council rise from the meeting closed to the public at 9:09 PM and reports the following: that council approved the closed session minutes for January 31st, 2024, and that council delegated authority to the chief administrative officer or designate to take and to direct the taking of all steps the chief administrative officer or designate deems advisable in relation to the appeal OLT 23000307, part of Lot 81, concession north of Talbot Road, East Elmer, ZBA 05-22, and any related proceedings, and to report to council. And that council received for information and provided confidential direction to the CAO regarding staff reports, Manager of Planning Development Report, Plan 06-24, update on Ontario Land Tribunal Appeal, ZBA 05-22, Director of Infrastructure Report, Operation 07-24, Willow Run Multi-Use Path, Chief Administrative Officer Report CAO 9-24, Employee-Related Matter, Recruitment of the Deputy Clerk and Information Services Coordinator, and that council provided direction on the recruitment of the Deputy Clerk, hiring instructions for the vacant positions, administrative support to the Infrastructure Department, departmental reporting changes, and job description updates. And, sorry. That council received for information report CAO 10-24 respecting potential land sale, Ames Park, and that council gave confidential direction to the CAO respecting the report.
Very good, thank you. Mover and seconder, Councillor Chapman, Councillor Van Raes. Any discussion, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Everyone, that's carried, thank you. And finally, adjournment resolution.
That council adjourn at 9:12 PM.
Mover and seconder, Councillor Desrosiers, Councillor Oslach. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen and councillors.